Are you struggling to make the right connections with others? Do you feel like your interactions and your engagements seem to flounder when you're trying to engage with other people? If so, you're going to want to watch this video because I'm going to break down 10 ways that you can improve your interactions and engagements with others. Okay? Now, this is going to be super important if you're on any sort of a path of personal development or professional development. You're trying to take your gifts, your skills, your talents, and evolve them into being superpowers. You have to 100% improve the way that you interact, that you have discussions and conversations, that you engage with others when you're trying to take your gifts and superpowers and deliver value to them. So come along and join me on this video. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave comments along the way if you want to. You can also check us out at thegivermethod.com. Now, my name is Jake, and I'm the founder and chief giver over at The Giver Method. And at The Giver Method, we're focused on helping others to develop their gifts and superpowers, to then identify who's the best people to go give that to, who can I influence and make the biggest impact on with my gifts and superpowers. Then, how do I learn how to deliver as much value as I can, or deliver more value without asking for anything in return? And of course, how do I have more effective and more eager engagements with others? Now, the outcome you're going to find from that is that you get this thing called relationship riches. That's one of the first ones, where relationships improve and it just seems like things flow better. But also, I found that when you give, and you give your gifts and superpowers, you develop them so much you can give value without asking for anything in return, that the universe has ways of paying you back. Not that it's guaranteed, not that it's going to happen right away. I've just noticed that throughout my life and the people who I've helped lives, that when you do that, good things come to you. Whether you want to look at that through a spiritual nature, a karma, a whatever, it is true that when you take the things that you have that are innate in you, you develop them to be superpowers and give without asking, the universe has a way of paying you back. The goal of the Giver Method is to help you to become a giver, which is an acronym for those things: gift, influence, value, engagement, relationship, riches. And it is designed to help you to transform lives. So when you become a giver, that you're able to transform people's lives. You're able to transform the lives of those around you. You can make a greater impact. You can have better connections. You can have greater fulfillment in the things you're trying to do. So we're going to dive into this. I want to dive into these 10 areas in which you can improve specifically the interactions and the engagements that you have with others. Because if you're going to be taking any sort of gifts or superpowers and giving them to others, we want to make sure that you have effective, super effective engagements, super effective interactions with them. We want it to be eager, that when you're showing up, you're excited, and they're eager to engage with you as well. So let's dive into these. I think you're going to love these 10. Number 1 comes from understanding your default future versus your desired future. So it's actually something you have to reflect on and think about before the interaction, before the engagement. The default future is we're kind of all built like computer programs, and our entire lives we've been wired and programmed and had, computer viruses put into our system, and we are designed to respond in a very specific way. Which is true if you've ever had things like, for me, anytime I have to talk about budgeting, like my skin crawls and I become almost like I feel the heat in my face. So that's all because it's in my programming. There have been things in my past that I can look at and go, oh, that's why I feel that way about budgeting. Now, you may feel that way about multiple interactions. And when you're in a scenario, you have your default future, your programming, and the other person you're interacting with, they have theirs. And they may be similar, they may be different. So the thing you have to be thinking about is, what's the desired future? What's the outcome I want to have here? And if so, what would have to be true in this engagement, in this moment, to make that a reality? It will help you when you're in the moment. If you find things coming up, topics, issues, whatever it may be, that your programming is starting to take over, it helps to then click you back in and go, hold on, I'm trying to accomplish this. So that example of budgeting, my wife and I, if we try to talk budgeting, I'm going to get all worked up. And it's like, well, hold on. What do I want in my relationship with my wife? What do I want in those engagements? I want them to be loving, caring. I want there to be humor and laughter. And I want it to be something that just feels smooth and easy so that we can talk about anything we want. Well, that totally changes that. When I start to feel my skin start to itch and my ears start to turn red because we're talking about budgeting, It helps calm me down because I'm like, no, that's what I want. So number one, think about your desired future and the things that have to be true in the moment to help guide you down that path. Step number two, you have to realize that every interaction, no matter how well you know someone, often has to start with small talk. And getting good at small talk that guides you to where you're trying to get to is going to be super effective. Don't try to just dive right into heavy stuff because you're going to blow people back. You're going to make people be more defensive. They're going to put up their gates. So recognize the impact and the usefulness of that small talk and engaging with people. It's just a simple thing, but you get good at that, and you can then guide yourself into the conversation to wherever it is that you're trying to get to. The third way that you can improve interactions, engagements with others is to ask better questions. Don't ask yes or no questions. Ask engaging questions. Dive deeper. What do you mean by that? Tell me more about that. How are you feeling when you just get deeper, dive deeper, ask good questions? There's all sorts of videos and content and articles out there about how to ask good questions that keep conversations going. We have videos on the channel, if you want to go check them out, that are designed around that idea of how to ask better questions in a conversation. So ask better questions. That's the third one. Fourth one, pretty straightforward, active listening. So if you're going to ask better questions, you need to actually listen to the answers. There's nothing worse than when you ask a question of someone asks me a question, something deep, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm talking, and I can almost see that they're trying to think of what's the next thing that they're going to ask me. I'm like, okay, they're listening, but are they actually listening? Are they engaged with me? Because I don't think they are. So think about it from that perspective. How do you create more active listening as you are engaging with others? If you ever find yourself drifting off or thinking about other things or trying to be ahead, that's going to be a problem. Your goal is to be in the moment. So work on active listening. We've got chapters in every chapter of my book, The Giver Method, that talks about things about active listening and how that works. So listen as they're going, which leads right into number 5 and also kind of number 6. But number 5, which is going to be rephrasing to better understand. And so as I did work in the past in helping people with grief recovery, you almost have to help people emotionally rephrase what they're saying to get them to actually talk more about their emotions. They'll talk about things that are difficult, ever since the divorce we did today, ever since my dad passed away, and it's like you hear things and it's like, okay, wow, thank you for telling me that. I mean, it sounds to me like you feel like you're been lost ever since that happened and you've just been trying to find the right thing, but no one's been there to help you. That rephrasing is going to help you get really clear on what they said, because they may be like, no, that's not what it was at all. But in most cases, if you're actively listening and you rephrase that to better understand, it's going to get them to open up even more, where they're going to be like, yeah, I have been, and as they start down that path, now they're getting more into the emotional level of answering things. Now they're actually getting more out there, so you can be listening for the things you're looking for. So if you're trying to take gifts, superpowers, things like that, and deliver value, you got to make sure that you're finding the right opportunity as a part of that. It has to be at the right time, which is going to come up. We're going to talk more about that in a bit. Now, I told you that 4, 5, and 6 kind of go together in a lot of ways, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Number 6, you have to practice empathy and emotional intelligence. Once again, these are 2 topics that I didn't think I'd have to write much on. I don't feel like I'm an expert on in any way possible, but I would tell you that in the 11 chapters of my book, empathy and emotional intelligence probably come up 8 or 9 times in 8 or 9 chapters, because it's so important to understand those things at that emotional level. So if you are asking really good questions, if you are active listening, if you are rephrasing to understand, you're already going to be showing more empathy. You're going to be helping them to be on a path of growth. And then understanding that emotional intelligence. There's all sorts of things out there. Like I said, I by no means am an expert on emotional intelligence. I've had to talk a lot about it, but there are probably way better things out there that you could go find, TED Talks and such, that cover that topic if you need more information on it. The 7th way to have more effective engagements and interactions and communication with people is you have to be willing to share stuff about you. You have to be willing to be vulnerable. When you can open up and share about a struggle, it makes a deeper connection at that point. There's a reason I chose the example earlier when I talked about default future versus desired future, and I used the idea of budgeting and how it gets me worked up. As me opening up about something that I've struggled with, that I have emotional connection with. And I guarantee it may not be you, but there will be people who are watching the video that go, when they hear me say it, they're like, oh my gosh, I totally get that. I feel the same way. Or they'll be like my wife, where they're like, oh my gosh, my husband totally does that. When you are open and vulnerable, it creates a connection. You have to be willing to share those things about yourself. Now, the second half of that, number 7, so be willing to share, be willing to be open, and don't overshare. There is such a thing as oversharing. We don't need to do that. So make sure that you're looking for those opportunities when you're showing empathy, emotional intelligence, as you're rephrasing questions, as you're looking for clarity. In those engagements, find those places where you can share. And number 8, sure. You need to come prepared to learn. Be aware that you don't know all the answers. You may be an expert on something, but sometimes people will throw curveballs at you. They'll throw things out there you're not expecting. So you have to be ready to step in and say, okay, I'm coming with this, and I'm not going to be so shut off in my mind that if they say something that I'm like, I haven't thought of it that way, I haven't looked at it that way. Because if you go past some of those things, you're immediately decreasing the amount of trust and understanding that they have in you because you went right past the thing that they were throwing out there. So be willing to learn. You don't have all of the answers. So that comes down to number 9, be willing to give and take. Once again, I don't know all the answers. I want to learn from you, and I want to be able to give and take. So how do we co-create what we're trying to do together? I'm not just trying to teach you something with my gifts or superpowers. I'm not just trying to give them direct to you and just that. No, how do we take this thing and we're going to co-create an outcome together with that? And so there's got to be give and take. And that was number 9. Number 10 is, I just call it support. Whatever it may be, whatever the individual is doing, give that support. Do not be afraid to reach out to them and offer advice, offer additional things. If you think about them, pull out your phone and text them, shoot them a message. I can tell you that there have been so many times in my life that I have individuals who, out of the blue, have sent me a message, a voice message, a video message. They've sent me a text message, whatever. And it was something that I absolutely needed in that moment. As I've worked on writing the Giver Method book, I had individuals someone who was writing a book along with me, and he and I basically send voice messages back and forth to each other. And there are a number of times he sent me and been like, man, I've been thinking about you, how awesome it is that you're da-da-da. And like the days that he sends those to me are the days that I'm like, what am I doing? How am I doing this? And I hear it and I'm just like, dude, that was right on what I needed. The same thing, someone who she volunteered to be the person to kind of be my accountability partner while writing the book. Number 1, that's amazing that she volunteered to support me in that way. But she would send random messages and check-ins. So support people. It helps build them up. So when you get those feelings, those promptings, those thoughts about the individual, don't move past them. Attack them. Go ahead and take the thing out, message them on the spot. Hey, dude, thought about you. Let me know if you need anything, and be amazed how much that's going to improve the interaction the next time you engage with them. So those are the 10 ways to improve engagements and interactions with others as you're having those conversations, those discussions, as you're working along, trying to become a giver and give those gifts and superpowers. The biggest things are, remember, it comes down, you have to be enthusiastic. You have to be willing to participate so that people are looking forward to that engagement with you. You have to be open and honest in your conversations. You have to active listen. Both parties have to be. You have to be approachable, not gated. Be positive. Don't look at the negative. Find the positive in all things. You have to continue to do that because you will build trust, and that starts with kind of the knowing they're there for you, but also establishing aspects like that our relationship, there are things that are sacred or covered or confidential or whatever it may be between us. There are things I'm not going to share because I've opened up to you, you've opened up to me. Build that trust together. Once again, be honest, be authentic, deliver your gifts, your superpowers in the right circumstances to the right people, and you will make a bigger impact on the world. Of course, always continue down the path you are on, that growth path. I like to wrap up all the videos by being like, just believe, continue to believe in who you are and believe in who you are trying to become. Because I guarantee that when you work on these gift superpowers and give them to the right people and give that value without asking for things in return and improve the way you interact and engage with people, I know for a fact it's going to change who you are and it's going to change all of those around you. And that ripple effect, you will never fully see the positive impact that that has. If you like the video, feel free to check us out, thegivermethod.com. Find us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn. Subscribe to the channel, like. I'd love to hear your comments. Share this with someone who may need it. Hopefully you found value in it, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one. Have a great rest of your day.